Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the personality of Godhead. Canto 3, Status Quo, Chapter 22, The Marriage of Kardamamuni and Devahuti. This is Maitreya Muni speaking to his disciple Vidura, text number 38. Yam Prishtaha Munabhihi Praha Dharman Nanavidhan Shubham Nunam Varna Ashramanam Cha Sarvabhuta Itaha Sada Ya Prishtamanapi Praha Dharmanana Vidhan Chabam Nunam Vanasramanam Cha Sarvabhuta Ite Sada Ya Prishtamanapi Praha Dharmanana Vidhan Chabam Nunam Vanasramanam Cha Sarvabhuta Hita Sada Ya Prishtamanapi Praha Dharmanana Vidhan Chabam Nunam Vanasramanam Cha Sarvabhuta Hita Sada.
Sarvabhuta Hita Sada.
Dr. Maharaj.
Ya Prishto Muni Vipraha Dharmanana Vidhanchuva Rinam Varnashanana Cha
Sarvabhuta Hita Sada.
Sarvabhuta Hita Sada.
Ya Prishto Muni Vipraha
Prishto Muni Vipraha
Dharmanana Vidhanchuman
Dharmanana Vidhanchuman Chuban
Vinam Varnashamanam Cha
Nrinam Varnashamanam Cha
Sarvabhuta Hitasada.
Sarvabhuta Hitasada.
Ya Presto Muni Praha
Ya
Yapristo
Prishto
Munibi Praha
Dharmana Vidhan Shubha
Dharmanana Vidhan Chuban
Nirvina Varnashramanam Cha
Nirnam Varnashamanam Cha
Sarvabhuta Hidakura
Sarvabhuta Hitasada. Online.
यः पृष्ठो मुनिभिः प्राह
Yapristo Munibi Praha
धर्मानानाविदान् शुभान्
Dharmanana Vidhan Chuban
नृणां वर्णाश्रमाणां च
Nrinam Varnashamanam Cha
सर्वभूताहितः सदा
Sarvabhuta Hitasada.
यः पृष्टो मुनिभिस्पृह
Ya
Yapristo Munibi Praha
कर्माणानाविधान् शुभान्
Dharmanana Vidhan Chuban
नृणां वर्णाश्रमाणां च
Nrinam Varnashamanam Cha
सर्वभूताहितः सदा
Sarvabhuta Hitasada.
Yaha
Yaha
Food. Krishtaha.
Krishna
Question. Munibihi, by the sages, Praha spoke, Dharman, the duties, Nana Vidhan, Jai Shisigurnatai, many varieties, Shubhan, auspicious, Nirnan, of human society, Varna Asramanam, are the Varnas and Ashramas, Cha and Sarvabhuta for all living beings, Hitaha, who does welfare, Sada, always. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Maitreya Rishi speaking. He says, in reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashrams. So purports, text 39. Etata adirajasya manos chantam abhutam varnatam vardaniyasya tadapadya dayam srini. Translation by His Divine Grace. I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter, Devahuti. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So Swayambhuva Manu was the first Manu. His lifespan was so long we can't even imagine the lifespan of one Manu, 71 yugas. And one yuga is 4,320,000 years. So 71 times 4 million, that's his lifespan is hundreds of millions of years. Just imagine. And his life was transcendental because his life was dedicated to serving Krishna. So he was in a transcendental position, even though he was a king. So his Manu-Samhita is very viable. Manu-Samhita means the law book for mankind. And India, many laws on the books today are derived from that Manu-Samhita. It's a perfect law book. It's not like the law book of the democracies where the laws are always changing, and they have to have a legislative body where every year they have to concoct new laws. But the Manu-Samhita, it's a perfect law book, and it's applicable in all planets, all times, all circumstances. And Swayambhuva Manu, he had compassion for all living entities, not just human beings. Just like in the modern age, people say that they're compassionate, they're big philanthropists, but at the same time, they allow slaughterhouses. So this is hypocrisy. A real king protects all the subjects, even the trees and plants and all the lower animals. They're protected by the king. That's his duty, to give protection to all living entities. And no living entities should be killed unnecessarily. There's a Vedic injunction that says even the trees should not be disturbed at night, because at night the trees sleep, and the trees are also conscious, although they're not as conscious as animals. But still, they're disturbed when you pick their branches at night, because in the Vedic system, people use dantakasas. Dantakasa means twigs. They don't use toothbrushes. They use a twig for brushing the teeth every morning. And after one brush, they throw it away, because once a toothbrush is used, it's muchi. And Prabhupada also followed this system. Even when he was in the West, he was saying that in all parts of the world, there are twigs that can be used for brushing teeth. And these twigs are antiseptic if they have a milky sap, or if they have a bitter taste, or if they have thorns. And he could find these kind of twigs wherever he traveled. Sometimes he used eucalyptus twigs, which he was fond of. In India, he used neem twigs. Okay, chapter 23, new chapter, Devahuti's lamentation. Maitreya vacha pratibhyam prasate sadvi patem angita kovada nityam praryacharat pritya bhavaniva bhavam prabhum. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is some nice elaborate purport by His Divine Grace. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. Report. The specific example of Bhavani is very significant. Bhavani means the wife of Bhava, or Lord Shiva. Bhavani, or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. In spite of her being a princess, she undertook all kinds of tribulations to associate with Lord Shiva. who did not even have a house, but was sitting underneath the trees and passing his time in meditation. Although Bhavani was the daughter of a very great king, she used to serve Lord Shiva just like a poor woman. Similarly, Devahuti was the daughter of an emperor, Swayambhuva Manu, yet she preferred to accept Kardama Muni as her husband. She served him with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. Therefore, she is designated here as Sadhvi, which means a chaste, faithful wife. A rare example is the ideal of Vedic civilization. Every woman is expected to be as good and chaste as Devahuti or Bhavani. Today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Shambhu, or Lord Shiva, is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Rama and chants Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. The girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband, and if the husband is the Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. This reciprocation of service and love between husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life. So this is a description of perfect sociology and the ideal Vedic society. It says that Bhavani is the wife of Lord Shiva, and Bhavani is eternally glorified because of her saintly qualities. And one time in one of Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes, when Lord Chaitanya was 16 years old, he started his own Brahmin school called Chatuspati in the village. And he was teaching Sanskrit grammar in the school at the age of 16. Lord Chaitanya was so smart that he had already mastered Sanskrit grammar. And it so happened that at that time there was a famous Pandit from Kashmir called Keshava Kashmiri. And he was famous all over India because he had defeated all the other scholars in all the places of pilgrimage in India. Just like that today, there are champions in sports and basketball and football. In former ages, there are champions in learning. And Keshava Kashmiri was considered the undefeated champion in all of India. And after he had defeated scholars in many other cities, he came to Navadvip. And one day he was strolling along the bank of the Ganges. And by chance, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time he was known as Nima, he was a 16-year-old boy. He was also strolling on the bank of the Ganges, and they happened to meet. And Lord Chaitanya offered him very much respect because he was a learned scholar and Brahmin. And he requested the Pandit to please recite 100 Sanskrit slokas praising Mother Ganges. And immediately, just like a storm, the Pandit created perfect, well, not quite perfect, but he created he created Sanskrit slokas in praise of Mother Ganges. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at once memorized all 100 slokas perfectly. And when the Pandit was finished with his poem praising the Ganges, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "This is very good, but I've noticed that there's some faults in your Sanskrit literature here." And the Pandit was amazed that this 16-year-old boy was pointing out his faults, and he was only a student of grammar, and the students of grammar are not expected to be experts in Sanskrit composition. But this Pandit pointed out that in the 64th sloka, you have composed the word Bhavani Bhartu. Bhavani is the wife of Lord Shiva, and Bhartu means husband. So Bhavani Bhartu means the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that this sloka has a fault of redundancy, because this word implies that Lord Shiva's wife has another husband besides Lord Shiva. So this is one fault, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out many other faults. And this Pandit was absolutely devastated by he understood that he had been defeated by a 16-year-old boy, and he went to his place of sleep, and at night he was dreaming, and his deity Mother Saraswati came to him in a dream, and Mother Saraswati indicated that Keshmari Pandit should submit at the lotus feet of Nimai Pandit. So after that, this great Pandit became a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, because he understood that he's a greater scholar than me. And sometimes when Lord Chaitanya went to take bath in the Ganges, the Orthodox Brahmins also bathing in the Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya would splash them with water. And the Brahmins would go home and complain to Nimai's father, Jagannath Mishra, that your son is splashing us with water, but we know we're taking bath in the Ganges. And sometimes Nimai Pandit would see the girls on the bank of the Ganges, and that they'd be worshiping Lord Shiva, because young unmarried girls, like it says here, they're supposed to worship Lord Shiva in order to get a good husband. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time he was known as Nimai. Nimai would say to these girls, "You don't need to worship Lord Shiva, just worship me. Lord Shiva is my servant, and his wife, Parvati, is my maidservant. So all the offerings of Lord Shiva should be offered to me." And some of the girls were disturbed by this, and some of them were pleased. And the disturbed girls would go home and complain to their mothers that Nimai Pandit is teasing us. And Nimai Pandit would curse the girls who were complaining that if you don't follow my instructions, then I curse you to have a old husband, a widower who has 7 children from her previous wife. And if you follow my instructions, I bless you that in the future you'll be married to a young husband, a young, good-looking husband who will give you all protection, and you will have dozens of children. Any comments or questions so far? Donovan Millers, if you have any comments, please make them anytime you want. Or if you have any corrections, or if you want to chastise me, I accept. Yes. Agadari Prabhu.
So here we're seeing that Devahuti was busy serving her husband with great love, and she's and Prabhupada says that this is the standard of the Vedic times. And could you tell us more about the Vedic paradigm?
Yeah. If a Vedic society in Bhakti Yoga, marriage is allowed, and it says that every girl should be married, and usually they're married at a young age, and the marriage isn't based on sense gratification, or if the husband is wealthy or opulent or handsome, but it's based on mutual characteristics. The husband should be equal to the wife, and in the Vedic culture, it's very opposite to the Western culture nowadays. Nowadays, males and females are considered equal, but biologically they're different. And every scripture, whether you take Jewish scripture, Hindu scripture, Christian scripture, or Muslim scripture, in all scriptures, the wife is supposed to be subordinate to the husband. And I was formerly married myself, and before I was married, Kirtana Swami told me that marriage is a 4-letter word, W-O-R-K, work. Yeah, the husband has to work hard trying to please the wife and children, and the wife also has to work hard trying to please the husband and children. And in the beginning, there's no feelings of love, but as the years go by, after serving, naturally the wife and husband develop affection for each other, and in the Vedic paradigm, that affection is centered on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. If one has affection for Krishna, then he could have affection for his wife and children and his whole family, and he sees not only my little family as the object of love, but he expands his love to include all living entities, even the cows and even the cats and dogs, everybody. They're all sons of God, and they all deserve respect. And if a wife is attached to her husband, and her husband is a Brahmin or a Vaishnav, then her life is very fortunate. And if the husband is too much attached to his wife, that's not very good, because then in the next life he'll be obliged to accept a female body. Anybody who has a female body in this life, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, in your last life you were a man who was too attached to woman. And according to Bhagavad Gita, females are lower birth, although spiritually they're all one, but the body's different. The the men have privileges that women don't have, and biologically the woman is able to bear children, and a man can't. So they have different functions. Yes, you have a question?
Um,
She going to tie.
So I got a concern or question. What if, say, like I've got two children of my own with two different women. If the love just and affection just goes away, what does I don't know what y'all's religious book is called.
Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does it say about that? Do y'all need to stay together for the children, and does the woman need to stay in service of the man? The man continue to provide, or would it be better for them to go their separate ways?
No. According to the Vedic paradigm, there's no such thing as divorce. Once you take that vow, you have to stick to that vow. At the marriage ceremony, the husband and wife take a vow to stay together through happiness and distress, health or sickness or health, and so on and so forth. In all circumstances, they should remain faithful to each other for life. That's good. It's a lifelong contract. And there's several kinds of enemies in family life. And one enemy is a woman, a mother who accepts another husband in the presence of her grown-up children. She's considered an enemy. So in the modern society, there are many such enemies, and if the son is a fool, rascal, he's also considered enemy. And if the father leaves debts for his children, he's an enemy. Yes, Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you were just talking about a woman in front of her grown-up sons is an enemy of the family. So it's kind of a sensitive topic for me, but like so like what does let's say the mother does that, but she's still favorable for her sons to take up Krishna consciousness. Should she be treated as an enemy or as a friend?
Every mother should be respected. Every father should be respected. And especially if she's encouraging you in Krishna consciousness, if she doesn't interfere with your devotional service, then she's a good mother. Yes, Magadari Prabhu.
So we're learning about these kind of traditional family units and roles and kind of guidelines like that. So what are we supposed to take now from, oh, we have a hand from Maharaj. Okay, 1 second. Okay, we're ready for you, Maharaj. You're on mute right now.
Kali Yuga, the age we're in now, is such a fallen age that everyone is practically an enemy to everyone because nobody's following the rules and regulations properly. The men are not following the rules and regulations properly, and the women are not following. In fact, more and more they're beginning to just disregard the scriptures altogether. So how can they be anything but enemies? But the thing is, the Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, he doesn't see anyone as enemy or friend. He sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. And he wants to help them in devotional service. So certainly he wants to help deliver his mother from whatever situation she's in. And he wants to help his father make spiritual advancement also. And his friends and even the people that consider themselves his enemies. A devotee like Yudhishthira Maharaj, he didn't see anyone as enemy. In fact, there's a story that his name is that he has no enemy. His enemy was never born, because he sees everyone as a spirit soul. So there's enemy and friends. This is the material world. It's true though, that when a man has debts and he dies with those debts, then in the form of the Vedic system, the son is responsible for the debts of his father. So that means now he's, instead of using his energy for developing his own successful family, he has to pay off the debts of the father. So that's a type of enemy. But again, a Vaishnava, he sees that someone else is angry with him or is working against him. So he understands this person is trying to make my life difficult. But this is also Krishna's mercy, because according to my past misdeeds, I'm receiving the karma, the reactions for my past misdeeds. If I perform good, pious activities according to scriptures in my previous lives, and in this life, I'll get the good results, and vice versa. If I performed impious activities in the past, I'll get the results in this life. So he doesn't become angry at anyone else because he knows that he's responsible for his own deeds. And if someone now is acting in a way that's apparently inimical towards him, that's actually Krishna's mercy, so that he's now receiving the results of his former activities. And although karma normally cannot be changed by some material activity, karma can be curtailed by performing some devotional service. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman parichaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma shucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me, and all your sinful reactions will be cleared off. You'll not be responsible. He'll take care of them all. You'll be free from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So that means everybody I mean, no matter what they did pious in the past and what they did impious in the past, they should all surrender to Krishna. And really that's the only solution, because to try to make a material solution to these problems is not possible, because Kali Yuga is an age that's full of faults. And how, if you have an ocean full of faults, how will you cross it smoothly? It'll be impossible. But Krishna consciousness is so pure and so powerful and so all-encompassing. If one takes up devotional service sincerely, then whatever he did or she did in the past is wiped clean. It's resolved. Krishna says, I will take care of it. You don't worry about it. It's like if some wealthy man, friend of your family, he knows that your family is having difficulties, and so he comes and says, look, I know the family for many years, and I'm going to take care of all your responsibilities for debts you owe. Just tell me how many debts there are. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. You don't have to pay anything back. That's very magnanimous. So Krishna is like that, but much more. He takes care of all of our debts, all of our responsibilities, if we just engage in his service. And that's the solution. That's what we tell everyone. It's true that materially there are differences, and there is a difference between a person who's acting in goodness or in passion or in ignorance. And they are treated differently. It's like a person who acts in ignorance and breaks the laws and performs impious activities, and he'll be sent to prison, and he'll be given a very difficult lifestyle to have to undergo. But spiritually, everyone has a chance to become Krishna conscious, no matter where they're in, whether they're in the jungle, or in the prison, or in a palace. If they act in Krishna consciousness, their life becomes perfect, and all their sinful reactions are cleared off, and then one is eligible to go back to home, back to Godhead. So that's what we concentrate on in Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Dr. Morris, thank you for enlightening us in Krishna consciousness. Thanks, Lord.
This goes in.
So, thank you very much. This week's total for book distribution was, let's see here, 40.5 plus 3.5 is 44, plus 12 is 56, plus 1 is 57 book points. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. If you'd like to participate in Transcendental Book Distribution, it's a very wonderful activity, sharing this transcendental knowledge with people. And if you do it, then you'll kind of get the feeling eventually like you want to read the books, which is helping us become Krishna conscious ourselves. So please let me know if you'd like to participate. And Hare Krishna.
I'd like to participate.
Okay. How can you participate? You can talk with me and we'll get you some books. And we'll keep track of the books. And you can distribute them and collect some donations and bring it back to the temple. If you'd like to pay for the books up front, then you can keep the books and we don't have to get any donation. So those are the two methods that we can do. And we have different sizes, so if you're a beginner, you can take something very small that you just tell people, hey, you know, you can give a penny maybe. That's okay. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna.